Hi everyone, welcome to the channel. My name is Ashish and I'm a junior doctor working in the UK. Today's video is going to be a bit different from my other videos in which I give you advice about PLABs. This video is more about advice about everything in general, and I want to reflect upon some of my experiences with my colleagues at AIMS and some of the other doctors who I've met throughout this journey. Before starting this video, I want to say that if you want to support my work on YouTube, you can do so by clicking on the like button. You can share this video with your friends and colleagues, and you can subscribe to my channel. So let's start this video now. Life is a game, and you must have heard this statement as well. But when I first heard this statement, it seemed a bit dubious to me because it was a way too simple approach to define life. But after pondering over this idea of life as a game, I gradually realized that there was some truth to the statement. But the truth was in some other way rather than the one in which most of us take it to be. What do I mean by this? So I would like to start by talking about the idea of success for most of the people. From our childhood, we are usually taught that we should aim to become successful in life. And by being successful, we are taught that we should try to get rich and we should try to hold positions of power. And that is the definition of success for most people. So, how do you become successful in life? Let's go back to the previous statement that life is a game. And if life is a game, each and every one of us is trying to play this game to do well. And we are trying to experiment around and we are trying to pave our way to reach success. And we are trying to play this game of life and we aim to win at it. But did someone teach you how to play this game well? Or did you learn from some sources that how to play this game well? And the answer is no for most people. And that's where we fall into a trap. And this is quite a bad trap which leads to jealousy and misery in life. You must have heard this quote, and the quote is by John Stuart Mill. And it says that men do not desire to be rich, but to be richer than other men. And I'm sure that you must have felt that way as well, if you're true to yourself. If you are able to relate to the previous quote by John Stuart Mill, then you might be in a good place and you must be realizing that you could be in a trap. And if you're in a trap, how can you escape this trap of jealousy and misery? So let's go back to the first statement, which is life is a game. And if life is a game, we should be learning more about games so that we can play it well. And let's talk about one of the mathematical bases on which games are based on to learn about how to play games and how to win at those games. When we reach out to mathematics, there's something called game theory, and this is a study of mathematical models of strategic interaction among rational decision makers. And this is a definition from a very famous book, which is called Game Theory by Roger Myerson. Now, this definition is very complicated, but in simpler words, it means that game theory is a mathematical way of analyzing how games are played and how you can reach the best possible outcomes after playing games. According to the game theory, there are two types of games. The first one are zero-sum games and the second one non-zero-sum games. What are zero-sum games? Zero-sum games are most of the board games which you have played in your life at some point. And all of these games are zero-sum games. For example, in chess, for a player to win or get a score of +1, the opponent will have to lose or get a score of -1. And when you sum both of these, the overall remains 0. And these are zero-sum games. The second ones are non-zero-sum games. And these are scenarios where for a player to win or get a score of +1, the opponent will not have to lose or get a score of -1, and this leads to a non-zero score. One of the examples of a non-zero sum game is the prisoner's dilemma, and I'll add one of the videos to describe what this is. You can check out this video in the description of my video here. So how does this complicated theory about playing games apply to your life? Let's take into consideration two scenarios. The first one is where you're trying to play the zero-sum game in life. And this is what most of us are doing right now. But it's not your fault, it's what the society teaches us. Whole of our education system favors this approach. Go back to your childhood and think that when you were trying to impress your parents and your teachers, and you were trying to become a topper, which is get a score of +1, someone else had to lose the status of being a topper and get a score of -1, and this led to an overall score of 0. And this is what I mean by playing a zero-sum game. So we are always trying to get benefits from others, but we never try to reciprocate, and we rather want them not to do so well, and we subconsciously try to keep the sum as 0. I remember from my college days that there was a colleague of mine who used to scare other students one day before the exams, so that they don't do well, but he can do well in that exam and he could become a topper. So why are we doing this? And the answer to this question is that we are playing the zero-sum game because we are always trying to seek status. Playing for status is a zero-sum game. By this I mean that for someone to be at a higher place of status, someone else would have to step down. And this leads to jealousy and the misery, and we always try to get on top of the status ladder, and we always try to crush other people down so that they remain lower than us while we remain at the top in the status game. We are programmed from our childhood that in order to become successful, you'll have to crush down upon other people, and you'll always have to try to remain on top of the ladder of status. But have you ever thought about why this has to be like this? And do we really need to do that? And this is where scenario 2 comes. And this scenario is playing the non-zero sum game in life. Let's talk about wealth first. So wealth is a store of value, and this value can be in any form. This can be in form of knowledge, this can be in form of money, this can be in form of being fit and maintaining good health, this can be in form of good relationships. So wealth is a big term which just means a store of value, and this process of acquiring wealth is a non-zero sum game. And this doesn't have to be a zero-sum game because the resources which are available to an individual are infinite. And in easy words, this means that you and all of your known ones can get wealthy, and they won't have to step on each other's portions to achieve this, because an individual has infinite resources. For example, both me and you can become a surgeon, or both me and you can start a business, or both me and you can become a pilot, and we won't have to step on each other's portions because for each one of us the resources are infinite. And this game of creating wealth should be the priority rather than seeking status, which is a zero-sum game. Let me tell you an interesting story at this point. So when I was in my medical college, during the final years, I was really confused about what subject to postgraduate in, because I loved studying medicine and surgery and all other subjects, and there was no subject I used to hate. So I went to one of my seniors who was in the process of becoming a surgeon, and I spoke to him and I described my situation about how I can't decide on what subject to pick. And he told me something which was a bit unusual, which I never had heard in my life before. So he said that imagine yourself going to a party when you are like in your 50s or 60s, and whenever you will go to a big party like that, if you are a surgeon, the people who are in that party will keep you in a different kind of position and they'll praise you more than if you are not a surgeon and you have just done medicine or some other branch. And when I heard that, I was like, dude, I don't relate to this ideology. I don't think that this is a good enough reason for me to become a surgeon. So I realized that most people are trying to seek status in this world, and it is very difficult to maintain the position of status for a long time, and this leads to a lot of jealousy and misery, as I said earlier. So some of the take homes which I would like to tell you here are that you should not try to play this game of status. You should try to play a non-zero sum game of creating wealth for yourself. You should cooperate with other people, and you don't have to make someone else fail to get ahead in life. So yes, play life as a non-zero sum game. Don't try to achieve status.